Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Chantel and today I am doing a tag for Tag Tuesday. It's been a while, but this tag I've seen going around is a fun one and it's absolutely 100% up my alley, and so I am doing the Filmtastic February Tag. Even though by the time this video goes up it will no longer be February, I am technically filming it in February, so it counts. It still counts. So this tag was created by Duncan at Back Away from the Donkey. If you would like to check out his channel, I'll probably link it in the description below. I highly recommend you check it out. He's got a great channel. I love his content. So yeah, let's get started. So this is a tag that's mostly about films, books, books about film, films about books, that kind of thing. Which is, if you know anything about me, you know that that's just 100% the intersection of all my special interests. So let's just get started, shall we? Our first prompt is your first memory of seeing a film in the cinema. That is actually, I have a pretty clear memory of seeing this film in the cinema. In 1991, I saw Beauty and the Beast in the cinema with my aunt and uncle. I was approximately, I would have been 6, maybe 7. So that's my earliest memory of seeing a movie in the cinema. If it's possible that I saw something before Beauty and the Beast, but this is the first one this is the earliest one that I remember clearly. So yeah, that's this one. I saw it with my aunt and uncle. I don't remember if my sister was with me at the time. She's a few years younger than me, so she may not have been. She may have been too young. It may have just been me and my aunt and uncle taking me to this. But yeah, and this continues to be one of my favorite films of all time. I think it's great. To me, this is sort of the peak Disney Renaissance film. It's really wonderful. This was the first animated film to be nominated for Best Picture Oscar. So there you go. There's your trivia for the day. The second prompt is one that makes me kind of laugh because it's a book about film, which, look, you have to understand, if you've never seen my channel before, if this is your first video of mine that you're watching, you have to understand I have a degree in film. I have a master's degree in film studies from UCLA, so I own a lot of books about film. I have multiple entire shelves of books about film and television and video games and digital media, and like that's what I did. So just picking like one is kind of impossible for me. But I can give you a small selection of books. Here's Desire Unlimited, the cinema of Pedro Almodovar. I love Pedro Almodovar, and I studied his films in college, and this was a book that I used when studying those films. So yeah, All About My Mother is a great film. I also really enjoy Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown, Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. He's got some great movies. What else have I got here? A couple of books that were kind of the bane of my existence in grad school. So this is Sergei Eisenstein's Film Form and Rudolf Arnheim's Film as Art. These are sort of quintessential texts on film theory and film aesthetics, which I had to study quite a bit in depth in grad school. I had a lot of trouble with Eisenstein at the time, but he is an amazing filmmaker. If you haven't seen his Battleship Potemkin, it's a classic example of silent Soviet cinema. Highly recommend that. Arnheim, the main thing that I remember from Film as Art by Arnheim is simply that he was really mad about sound film. He thought sound film just kind of ruined the whole thing. very funny, very old man shaking his cane at clouds. Because, yeah, he thought that silent cinema was like the peak of artistic form in cinema. And like, look, I love silent movies. I think there's some really great ones. There's a lot of really great silent films. But yeah, he was convinced that sound technology just ruined movies. But it is really, like, this is really important text in talking about film as an art form and not just a product for commercial consumption, right? This is one of the earliest texts that tried to actually talk about film as an art form. So there you go. There's a few. I could give you a lot more, but I won't belabor the point here. The third prompt is a novelization or tie-in book. And I've read a number of novelizations, but the obvious one for me is like to pull a Star Wars book, right? To pull a Star Wars book, because Star Wars is just kind of on another level when it comes to novelizations and tie-ins. And personally, one of my favorite Star Wars novelizations is the Rogue One novelization by Alexander Freed. Alexander Freed is a great writer. He's done some amazing stuff in the Star Wars universe, and I really like Rogue One as a film, but this kind of takes it to a whole nother level, and Freed is so good at writing about traumatized soldiers, right? And if there was ever a movie that lends itself to Alexander Freed's kind of writing, it is in fact Rogue One, because that's exactly what Rogue One is about as well. And so, yeah, this is probably one of my favorites, if not my absolute favorite Star Wars novelization, which means it's also one of my favorite novelizations of all time, because most novelizations can be fun, but usually they're not like amazingly well written. They tend not to be, right? They're cash grabs for the most part. Star Wars really cares about, Star Wars publishing really cares about putting out good stuff, and they consistently do it. So this is a good one. The next prompt is a film about writers or writing. I don't know. The first one that comes to my mind when I think about films about writers or writing is Sofia Coppola's Lost in Translation, which is her first feature film, which I really liked. I think it's a good movie. It's definitely worth your time. But that's like the first thing that comes to my head when I think about movies about writing. I suppose the quintessential film about writing is Shakespeare in Love, but that one's not as good, I think. The fifth prompt, a film that brings back fond memories. I had to think about this one. There's a lot of films that I'm very nostalgic about and that bring back lots of fond memories for me. But I did spot one Blu-ray on my shelf that immediately sort of sends me into a nostalgia spiral. My copy of Young Frankenstein, directed by Mel Brooks. Yeah, I love this film, but this brings back a lot of fond memories for me because I first saw this film in high school when I was in high school marching band. I was a band nerd, and one year as a fundraiser, we rented out as like an old school single screen movie theater, and we and screened Young Frankenstein for like, $5 a pop or whatever to raise money for like a band trip or something. And that's how I first saw Young Frankenstein. And it was just really memorable and a fun experience. And so this movie always sort of brings back those kinds of memories for me. So yeah, that's Young Frankenstein. And also it's just a really good movie. This is probably my favorite Mel Brooks film. The next prompt, a film that made you want to read the book. That's another easy answer for me. it was The Fellowship of the Ring, directed by Peter Jackson, which I saw when it came out in theaters. I was about 15 years old, and I had not read any Tolkien at that time, and by the time I got out of that movie theater, I was like, I have got to read these books. And the rest, as they kind of say, is history. So yeah, it was definitely Lord of the Rings. That was the trigger point for me. That was the trigger. The seventh prompt. The seventh prompt is a book that made you want to watch the film. This is a little bit tougher. I am always a little bit ambivalent about watching film adaptations of books that I really like. Though I was probably 13 or 14 when I first read Jane Eyre, and I have pretty religiously since then watched every film version of Jane Eyre that I could get my grubby little paws on, because I enjoy it. And yeah, so probably Jane Eyre is what I would say. Like, I didn't, it's not that I recall specifically thinking, like, as I was reading this, is when I was 13, being like, oh, I gotta watch a movie of this. But it's just one of those books where it's like, every time a new adaptation is released, I am like, okay, I gotta watch that and see how they do with it, right? I gotta see how they do with it. Even if I think it's gonna be terrible, I feel like I have to watch them. Unlike Wuthering Heights, which, no thanks. But Jane Eyre, definitely, I feel compelled to watch every adaptation of Jane Eyre that has been released. I've even seen the one with Orson Welles as Rochester, which was that's a fun one. The eighth prompt is a film based on a book or story that basically doesn't resemble the source material at all. I'm not sure that I can really think of one off the top of my head, except for like the obvious answer, which is Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining. I haven't read Stephen King's The Shining, but like it's sort of famously makes so many changes that Stephen King hates this film, even though it's a great film and it's a classic of the genre. Stephen King hates it because it's, different. So I guess that's my answer for that one. And then the ninth and final prompt is to recommend 5 films. So that's a very broad prompt, but I did just sort of pull 5 films randomly off my shelf. So I'm just gonna talk about these 5 random films that I pulled off my shelf. The first one is Arsenic and Old Lace, directed by Frank Capra. This is a very funny kind of murder mystery, whodunit bit of silliness, starring Cary Grant. It's very fun. It's an adaptation of a very popular stage play, and it's really enjoyable. Lots of kooky characters, and Cary Grant playing the most hapless straight man you can possibly imagine, who just wants to have a normal life and a normal wife, and his aunts just are murderesses, and he is embroiled in this nonsense, and he wants to get out of it, and it's amazing. I love this film. It's so funny. I also have here Looper, directed by Rian Johnson, one of my favorite directors currently operating in Hollywood. Famously directed The Last Jedi, and also famously directed the Knives Out films. And yeah, this is a pre-Star Wars film from Rian Johnson. I really enjoy this movie. It's a mind-bendy, dystopian, time travel, crime thriller thing with an emotional core to it that is about love and about breaking cycles of violence. And it quite literalizes the cycles of violence by creating this, the basic premise of this is that a looper is a person who murders people that are sent back in time from the future. And our main character, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is a looper, and one day he is confronted with his own self from the future, played by Bruce Willis, and he has to figure out why and how this happened. So it's a very crazy kind of mind-bendy sci-fi type thing with, dystopian elements and a found family element, and it's really good. You just kind of have to watch it. It's great. So yeah, that's Looper. If you're at all into the sci-fi, the weird sci-fi shit, this is definitely for you. Also on the sort of theme of like crime and stuff, I did pull my Godfather trilogy Blu-ray off the shelf. I do think The Godfather is a really good movie, and really worth your time. So is The Godfather Part 2, frankly. I would say that The Godfather Part 3 is probably only worth your time if you're like super completionist and you really want to know. But the first two films are absolutely really good. And yeah, this is the Coppola restoration. This is like Francis Ford Coppola himself signed off on this. And this is a particularly good version of these films. But yeah, these are like some of the great American films, quite frankly. What else have I got here? A classic musical. I have My Fair Lady. This is a delight. It's a delight. I don't know what else to say. If you haven't seen My Fair Lady, I really do think you should probably do that. There's no reason not to, quite frankly. It's a wonderful movie, a wonderful musical. It's got great performances. Rex Harrison is amazing in it. Yeah, and this particular edition, Blu-ray edition that I have, is very nice as well. I think it's pretty. Honestly, I mostly pulled this off my shelf because I think this edition of it is quite pretty. I love on the back, and it has there's a fun quote in the middle. Come on over, move your bloomin' arse, which is one of the funniest quotes in the whole thing. This is a great movie. And then finally, I pulled off my copy of Flow, which is one of my favorite films from the past few years. It's an animated film about a cat, and it's great. It's very, very good. There's no dialogue. It's just an animated film about a cat trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic water world kind of situation with a bunch of other animals, and it's amazing. You should watch it. It will make you cry. It will make you feel things. That's what movies, this is what movies should do, right? Movies really, they should tap into something primal and fundamental, and that's what Flow does. So highly recommend Flow. So yeah, there's 5 random movies to recommend to cover all my bases. And that is the Filmtastic February tag. The other prompt is to tag people. I don't know if I'll tag anyone specifically, but if you're watching this video and you want to do this tag, please consider yourself tagged. And that is what I have for today. Let me know in the comments below what you think about any of the books or movies that I've talked about here. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see some more, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.